So needless to say, it's been sort of a tumultuous month for Xbox. And I've not really covered a lot of this because most of the reports are pretty straightforward and I didn't figure I could add a whole lot to the conversation. However, today we got a little more information as to the possibility of where Xbox is actually headed. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So to just sort of recap the month of October so far for Xbox, on October 1st, we had the announcement that Game Pass would be restructured and that Ultimate tier of the plan would go up in price from $20 a month to $30 a month, which is a 50% price increase. And at that point, we saw a lot of people noping out of Game Pass. I did cover that, and I'm basically planning not to renew mine whenever it expires, but luckily mine doesn't expire until like 2028. I was fortunate enough to be able to stack a lot of Microsoft rewards and extend mine out quite a bit. And then on October 3rd, we had a price increase for the Series S and the Series X, at least in the US. It had already seen some price increases around the world, and now we had another price increase in the US. And then on October 21st, we had reports of the Xbox Series dev kits would go up in price from $1,500 to $2,000. Now, many developers probably already have a dev kit, so it really shouldn't affect them that much. However, if you're a developer thinking about porting something to the Xbox for the first time and don't have a dev kit, you may think twice about doing that now. And then on October 24th, last Friday, we had the announcement that pretty much everyone was expecting, and that is the next Halo game, which is a remaster, is going to be coming to PlayStation consoles. So many of us who have been following or into gaming since the 90s kind of saw all of this being like a death knell to Xbox. Console prices are supposed to go down during the generations to compete. You're also not supposed to put your games on your competitors' platforms. And one of the core businesses of Xbox, Game Pass, going up by 50% seems to be a little more than most people are going to bite into. And this all leads us up to a report now by Windows Central that came out today, and the headline here says, Microsoft's ambitious new Xbox, your entire Xbox console library, the full power of Windows PC gaming, and no multiplayer paywall. So this article kind of goes through a lot of the rumors that I've heard over the past year, and that is basically the next Xbox is just going to be a PC with backward compatibility in it. And this sort of falls in line with the direction that Xbox seems to be going with this everything is an Xbox. You've got the cloud streaming aspect, as well as these handhelds like the ROG Ally that is basically just a Windows PC at its core. It's got Xbox branding all over it, but you can't actually play Xbox games on it. So why not make everybody associate Xbox with Windows gaming? So what does the article here say about the future of Xbox? Well, the writer here has some sources that they trust. And we'll just read from the article here. It says, as many of us have come to expect, the next Xbox will indeed run full-bore Windows with a TV-optimized console-style experience layered on top. Microsoft decided to sideline its own Xbox handheld plans and go to the market with Xbox Ally in partnership with Asus this year to start gathering feedback on the experience that will essentially power its next wave of console hardware. And of course, I've got console there in quotes because it's still just a PC at its core. But continuing with the article here, it says, I'm told that Microsoft still plans to make its own Xbox handheld eventually, too, along the lines of this new plan. Xbox President Sarah Bond has teased a variety of first-party Xbox hardware made in partnership with AMD. What will all of this look like, though? Basically, this boils down to the interface you're seeing on the Xbox Ally right now. It basically has a full screen experience that has Windows underneath it, and you can exit out into the Windows interface, which I've heard people have to do quite often. You've got to update drivers as well as run Windows updates. But I could imagine over time this being a little more streamlined. And of course, you would also be able to exit out of this Xbox interface and load up something like Steam or Epic Games Store. And he also points out in the article here, if you're crazy enough, you could just run Adobe Creative Cloud or Microsoft Office on the next Xbox. So I could imagine some kid going off to college and asking their mom or dad for a computer for college and getting an Xbox. And the reason why I think that the interface will start to be a little more streamlined is from this part of the article where it says, where the Xbox console will differ from traditional Windows PC is that it will feel like a traditional Xbox console out of the box. The onboarding experience will be similar to what you get today on console, and if you choose, you can remain fully inside the Xbox ecosystem, never touching Windows itself. Exiting out of Windows will be for those who want to access games traditionally not available on Xbox, including PlayStation games on Steam, mouse and keyboard first games like League of Legends, and even classic games from GOG and the like. So as you may already know, Sony puts a lot of their first party games on PC about a year or so after it's out on PlayStation. So you could conceivably be playing Spider-Man 2 or say the next Wolverine game on an Xbox, but it's technically running Windows underneath it. Now I do have to wonder if there was some way that Sony might put a block in for that, but I don't think there'd be really much of a way that they could. They would have to have, say, Steam put in a block for any type of certain hardware and not allow the game to run on it. So to me that just doesn't seem very feasible. But the other cool thing about this is that if the next Xbox is basically running Windows underneath it, you would be able to run all kinds of emulators as well. So you could literally have just one gaming system there that's loaded up with NES games or Dreamcast games, or you could be playing, the latest PlayStation game that just came to PC. But probably the big question you may have right now is, how would it play the current Xbox games if it's basically running Windows underneath it and Windows isn't currently compatible with either the original Xbox, Xbox One, or just any generation of Xbox games? Well, they've got some information here in the article from Windows Central. It says, furthermore, thanks to new silicon from AMD, already approved all the way up to CFO Amy Hood and CEO Satya Nadella, the new Xbox will run all games currently available on the Xbox Series X and S library. This means all the OG Xbox backward compatible games, all the Xbox 360 backward compatible games, all of the Xbox One backward compatible games, and the current and future Xbox Series X and S games. These games will run natively on the new Xbox and launch seamlessly via the Xbox Launcher's library. So basically it sounds like there will be hardware backward compatibility for the Xbox Series X and S. And of course, because that system can run almost all of the Xbox One games and certain backward compatible games from the original Xbox and the 360, you would be able to run all of those on this new system. Now, we've seen stuff like this happen before, like the PlayStation 3 came out, and when it was originally released, it had hardware backward compatibility for PlayStation 2 games. And eventually, in order to get the cost down, that feature was removed, so there's always a possibility that Microsoft doesn't sell enough of these new Xbox systems, and they come along and eventually remove the backward compatibility at a hardware level. But who knows, maybe the generation after that, they have enough horsepower, they just run it all in software emulation. And of course, having hardware backward compatibility on the next Xbox/Windows system is the most ideal option to give you the best compatibility. However, I'm not sure what the price of that will end up being. So I could see the next Xbox come out and it be more than $1,000. Right now, the Xbox Series X with the disc drive is $650, and I remember paying $500 for it when it came out in 2020. So if this has gone up by $150, I would imagine the next system's not going to be cheaper than this. And if it's going to have this special silicon in it that's going to be able to play all the original Xbox games as well as also being able to double as a Windows PC, I just couldn't imagine the system costing less than $1,000. But there is always the possibility that Microsoft gets some type of bulk deal on this new chip. And if that is the case, maybe they can get the cost down a little bit more. And I also expect that next Xbox system to not include an optical drive in it. However, I could see them maybe have the option for, say, like a USB-C drive that you can connect to it just in order to be able to read the license off of a disc, but I wouldn't doubt if you'll end up having to pay like $70 for that optical drive. Now, there's another aspect of kind of merging the Xbox console and the Windows gaming ecosystems into one, and that's paying for online play. Right now on Windows, you don't have to pay to play online, but if you're on Xbox, you got to at least subscribe to that core tier in order to play online. Well, it looks like that paywall may go away. From the article here, it says, right now I'm told the current plan is for the next Xbox specifically to have no paywall for multiplayer. It wouldn't make a lick of sense for a PC to have paid multiplayer, particularly since it would create a strong incentive for players to simply install Steam instead of use the Xbox ecosystem on that device for online games. It remains to be seen if that plan actually plays out into reality though. So of course nothing is set in stone yet, but this does seem to be the natural progression of things. Xbox already removed that paywall for those free-to-play online games, so it just seems like it would be the natural progression again if you're merging console and PC together to again do away with that paywall. Now he also mentions in the article here that it could be a possibility that PC Game Pass goes away, mostly for the fact that it really wasn't talked about much when they did that restructuring. It was kind of hidden back behind some other areas of their website and really wasn't talked about much, so it could be the possibility PC Game Pass goes completely away, and if you're going to be a PC-only gamer subscribing to some type of Game Pass, you're going to have maybe that Ultimate tier in order to access it. But one incentive going forward could be for developers to want to move over to Xbox's ecosystem, especially if you can access Xbox games on maybe any PC in the future. And of course that incentive comes down to money. From the article here it says, Microsoft offers developers a more preferential rate on its PC store, 12% compared to Steam's 30%. I'm told this remains in place for developers building games for the Xbox PC ecosystem, adding a powerful incentive for publishers to support competition in that space. However, that likely reduces the amount of subsidizing Microsoft would have traditionally done in its own hardware. So if you aren't aware, most consoles are generally sold at a loss, except for, of course, Nintendo. And then, of course, like Sony and Microsoft are expecting to make that up in the future when people purchase more games. This again leads into the speculation that Microsoft's next Xbox could be terribly expensive. However, he does point out in the article here that it could actually be a cost savings if you factor in not having to buy both, say, the PlayStation 6 and a separate Xbox. If you buy just one system and you're able to access PC games, what would be traditionally Xbox games, as well as PlayStation games, usually about a year out. You could buy one system, say it's $1,200. Whereas if you were to buy a PlayStation, an Xbox, and a PC in order to access all of those games, you'd be well more than $1,200. So to me, the future of Xbox still seems kind of murky. I'm not sure if this hybrid PC console strategy will pay off. Right now there's sort of a mixed reaction to the Xbox Ally and how easy it is to navigate around. So they will definitely have to smooth that out a bit more. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is a great strategy for Microsoft and Xbox to take, sort of basically combining Windows gaming with Xbox console gaming? Or do you think that this strategy might just be too expensive and pretty much price most people out of gaming in the Xbox ecosystem? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.